Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior and accomplished professional from Virginia, USA, Mr. Bhadresh Patel. Bhadresh, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you. Bhadresh is the Chief Operating Officer of RGP, which is a NASDAQ listed company. So, Bhadresh, we were talking just before we started recording. Tell me a little bit about your own journey and what are some key milestones that have shaped your leadership approach?
Um, when I started my career, I actually started as a developer. I've done consulting my entire career, and I think that was very pivotal because it gave me the basis and the foundation to truly understand the world we live in today and the impact of digital and AI. But as I moved on, I knew development wasn't my interest or my core. And as I switched roles, I got more on the business side of helping clients drive transformations. And, along with that, you started to understand, when clients are taking on these journeys, what impact technology can do for business. But if you don't understand the business, you can't really drive technology. And if you don't understand the technology, you can't drive business.
Right.
And third on top of that is that, understanding other operational aspects of the business, right? So there's client delivery, there's sales, there's operations, there's recruiting. So my journey went from the big four to starting my own businesses as well.
Mm.
Veracity was the last one I did, which was 5 years ago, which was acquired by RGP. And
Mhm.
my journey here has also been very interesting. The first 2 years, I focused a lot on integrating our business.
Mm.
And the 2 years after that, I stepped in the chief digital officer role to modernize RGP. In
Mm.
the last year, I've been focused as a COO of really evolving this business into what it
Nice.
is today.
What an amazing journey. Bhadresh, you also worked in both digital and operational leadership roles. How has your perspective on transformation evolved?
I mean, since I have a lot of respect for the evolving need and desire and criticality for businesses to use technology,
Hmm.
and I have a deep understanding of operational aspects of our professional services business, I think they live together and not independent. Most businesses, when they decide to, at an executive level, make decisions to transform, they always are looking at the business realization of the transformation, but don't understand the impact across their technology landscape. And I have that balance, and through that balance, I'm able to truly understand implications of core decisions. And I think the second piece of this is, when people start to automate and people want efficiencies, they build big ROI models.
Mhm.
But people don't understand that when you go live with something, you're not going to realize that ROI overnight. And you really
Right.
have to define moments that matter.
Mhm.
And those moments are the ones that actually make a difference in the business to really drive the efficiency.
Hmm. Well said. RGP has been recognized as one of America's best management consulting firms by Forbes. What sets you apart from so many other consulting firms?
For us, I'll always say if you want to do a professional services business, you have to have people and you
Yeah.
have to have great people.
Mm.
It's not just about skill, it's about mindset. What we have done is created a very differentiated model. We call ourselves a challenger brand to the typical traditional pyramid models.
Mm.
Our client base is 88 of every Fortune 100 company and 70% of Fortune 500 companies. So
Mm.
what we offer our people are amazing opportunities to transform large clients in very complex implementations.
Mm.
However, our employment model is a mixed model. So we're not a traditional pyramid scheme. So when you think about our employees, what they're here for is they want to impact clients and they're driving their transformations. So they really are building their resume, then they're building their career.
Mm.
And we also have a balanced bench model as well as a W-2 hourly employment model,
Mm.
right? In the economy we live in and the time we live in, we have so many people that want to do great work, but don't want to get caught up in the politics of internal, organizational
Right.
challenges and growth. And that's what's made us best. We focus on our clients, we focus on our transformation, and we focus on the success we drive for them, which really in turn makes our people happy
Mm.
and the type of work that we take on.
Mm. Amazing. And as the Chief Operating Officer, what are some of the biggest operational challenges of leading a global professional services firm?
I mean, if you look at RGP in the last 12 months, we have really evolved into what we have been working on as a strategy probably for the last 4 or 5 years.
Mm.
RGP's core came from professional staffing, especially in the CFO suite, where we brought experts with 15, 20 plus years of experience in helping lead our clients.
Yeah.
In the same breath, we've been building a consulting arm
Mm,
and, and trying to operate both in the world of staffing and consulting is very hard. They're both different operating models,
mhm,
and putting that in place is the first thing. But what we have done that's very unique and not similar to other companies is that we've created an environment internally where there is no competition
mm,
between the staffing arm and the consulting arm because we fundamentally believe
mm,
clients are also very smart in their engagement models. And depending on the type of transformation they're doing and the journey they're on and the time they're on, they may just have need for experts, which we
mm.
can bring, and they may have need for us to give them solutions and teams, and we can do that too. But
Right.
breaking internal barriers to really allow our sales team, our talent team, and our delivery team to engage
Mm,
and solve for the client is more important than trying to worry about who's getting credit for what.
mm. Well said. When I was reading about you preparing for my conversation, I was fascinated by this philosophy of dare to work differently. Tell me more about this philosophy and how does it shape the way you engage with clients? And if possible, give me an example.
Yeah, I mean, this whole concept of dare to work differently is challenging our traditional pyramid models that are getting, as you read about them more and more, they're getting challenged.
Mm,
And, our model is really based on bringing the right people for the right transformation.
mm,
And what I mean by that is that if you think about transformations today, they're not just a technology transformation, they're not just a process transformation, they're not just a user experience transformation. So in our firm, we have capabilities that truly understand what a user impact is, right, to a transformation. We understand what automation means to a process. It's not just business process reengineering, it's really thinking about the moments that matter for the user.
right.
But coupled with that, we also have deep technical expertise that can actually help point and shape the direction of the transformation
Mm,
relative to the technology we're implementing. So that's one aspect of how do you take the left brain and the right brain and put it together.
right.
So we have domain experts in finance and supply chain and risk compliance in digital in brand. We have, technical experts, right, in both kind of integration, enterprise architecture, technologies like ServiceNow, for example, or Blackline, where we actually put these experts together in the same team and not have one finish and then the other one come in
Mhm,
to really drive these transformations. Yeah, I think the other piece of this is from a client perspective, it's our engagement model.
mm,
When we're with clients and talking about their transformations, we're working with them versus telling them how we will work for them. And
mm,
what I mean by that is the typical conversations with the client is, hey, we're having these problems, what can you do? And as we decipher those problems and we break them down, what we find is that a lot of times, we're co-delivering with clients, and a lot of
mm,
times they just need experts to help drive it. So we help them
mm,
shape which experts they need compared to what experts they already have or
mm,
third-party vendors.
mm.
There are other times where we are like, hey, in these areas here, we really should look at how do we actually take the scope of work and deliver it for you.
Right.
We recently sold a large, transformation deal for a pharmaceutical company, and they were actually in the midst of the implementation, and they were having some challenges between both the HR and the IT teams, and the implementation was touching both. They had a vendor doing the technical implementation, and they had
Mm,
another vendor doing the business process reengineering around it, and they weren't talking. And
right.
as we engaged with them, what we started realizing is that where they need the help is the bridge. So first we got in and provided them an expert to help create the bridge. And that
Mm,
bridge actually led to them also realizing we have the expertise in the transformation.
mm,
So we got invited to bid on the RFP to modernize their entire employee experience.
mm,
And so we shaped the team, we did the strategy for the work, and the implementation of that was a mix of both of our consulting capabilities and our on-demand talent,
mm,
right? And bringing in the right experts. And that's what we do every day. In another example, Ashutosh, I'll tell you, we do a lot of work around ERP systems,
mm,
whether it's Workday, SAP, or Oracle.
mm,
But where we are really great is not the configuration part. We're really great in providing the functional resources, the testing
mm.
resources, the project management
Yeah.
resources alongside the backfills that
Mm,
clients need when they take their own employees and put them in the transformation. And
mm.
that's what our model is. And that's how we work with clients every day.
Amazing. I've been speaking to many consulting leaders and a lot of youngsters, and what from the sense I'm getting is that the consulting industry is evolving with a greater demand for more flexible work models. How are you handling this need for flexible work, gig work, working from home, and so on?
I mean, what's interesting about this is, and I always tell everyone, when we look at the foundation of RGP and when RGP was founded, it was a spin
Mm,
out of Deloitte. It was based on the model of gig work
mhm.
already. So we were probably 20 plus years ahead of the curve. Our model is an employment model where we actually offer people the flexibility and choice of project work, when they want to work, how
Mm,
they want to work. At the same time, they do get employment benefits, like almost like a full-time employee,
mm,
right? So they're part of our platform,
mm,
and they're getting presented opportunities every week, every time they're rolling off. And that's, for us, it's not even a foreign concept anymore. The balance we have right now is also we do consulting services. So how do we balance a bench model with a gig model, so to say?
right, right.
And when there are areas where clients actually just want experts, and that's where a gig model is really powerful.
Mhm,
But even in our consulting side, we have deep bench methodology and a lot of capabilities, but
mhm,
then we will actually leverage our gig resources and from our on-demand platform to
mm,
actually staff the people and do the surgency that comes in to
mm,
leverage the cost structure of a bench model. So for us, it's not foreign at all, and it's not anything new. So it's not challenging the consulting and the professional services model we have when actually we're more ripe today for
mm.
the world of disruption, and we don't have to set up internal structures, comp structures, operational processes to handle this.
Right. But a lot of large companies are now encouraging or maybe forcing people to come back to work. Do you see this hybrid work model or the gig model continuing in the long term?
Um, I think the gig model will continue in the long run, right? I think what we are seeing right now, if you think about COVID and when COVID occurred, there was this ingrained fear in human society that if you leave your house, something grave will happen. And as a result of it, humans were able to change their behavior immediately
Yeah.
and start to work from home readjusted.
Mm,
And we're seeing this transition now, right, where people have saying, hey, we're not getting productivity, we're not getting the things we need. We need people and teams to work together.
mm,
I don't know if we'll ever get to a 5-day work week. I
mm,
know organizations are forcing it and the pendulum is trying to swing the other way. But I
mm,
do think it is important for teams and people to get together. And I
mm,
do see a balance coming.
mm,
And the balance will take a year or two to result and settle. But it's an evolved way of working, which COVID, I do think, forced people to understand that you can work remote and be productive. But the other extreme of working all remote is that you really lose the DNA of the company and the culture, or even the delivery of the delivery team that you're delivering with. Because there's a lot of conversations that do happen right
mm.
after a meeting ends.
Yeah.
And when you end a Zoom or a Teams call, those conversations are not happening. So I do believe hybrid will become very key.
Mm,
In a people business, if you actually don't sit and talk with people, sometimes you can't relate with them because, these types of Zoom calls are very transactional in nature and don't always consume to building relationships.
Great response. And what, in your view, are some of the most pressing transformation challenges organizations are facing today?
I mean, AI has been a big disruptor.
Hmm.
And, when you think about it, when every CEO is saying we have to do AI, and then they charge the organization to go do I think it is akin to when digital transformation was in its early stages and every client was saying, hey, we need a website, we need a commerce site, we need something, where everyone is trying to figure out what it meant, but people didn't really have the operating model and the business model to do that. AI will settle, AI will automate, AI will do predictive analytics, AI will do a lot of things, but you have to step back a little bit and understand that in order for AI to really work, data has to be right. That's
Right.
the first foundational piece of it. And the second piece of it is you have to understand the processes that you currently have to operate the business,
Mm,
whether it's from a customer perspective or an employee perspective. What parts are we disrupting and what parts are we
mm,
really leveraging AI for? So
yeah.
I think that's one piece of it. I think the other piece of this is when clients do transformations, big, large, small, whatever size, they don't understand the complexity involved nowadays in that type of transformation. So
Correct.
that also impacts, what we're seeing right now in transformations is that clients will kick off 10 different initiatives and eight of
Mm,
them touch each other and they don't even make that connection.
yeah.
That's also important.
Great response. But you've given me a perspective on what AI is doing for organizations that maybe your clients. What is AI doing to consulting?
I mean, for us, from an internal perspective, we just went through our own modernization and we decided to go with cloud-based platforms that have inherent AI in it. And,
Mm,
as our first step. So for example, our on-demand business is a heavy, heavy talent match business.
Mm,
Clients have needs, we're shaping those needs, but then we also need to make sure we're bringing in the right skills, the right profiles, and all those types of things. And before we went through this modernization, it was a database where we would search and search and make sure that we can provide all the right experts when we're building a proposal and we need to provide 50 profiles. That
mm,
would still take us a week or two to do. Now, with the technologies we put in place, as we put in these profiles and recs, we're able to get auto matches based on criteria
mm,
within minutes, not days. So
mm,
that's the first thing. And they're recommended, profiles based on client needs and profiles. And
mm,
then we go through and make sure that they are best fit. So we're starting to use AI in ways that actually facilitate our business,
mm,
not, fully replace it, but speed up the speed at which we can actually deliver for clients and also the right types of skills and things like
mm,
that. So that's what we're seeing. I think we have to be very careful with AI, especially when we're delivering for clients and we're representing our work and where the balance is there.
mm.
But I think the whole industry is trying to figure that out.
Very interesting. So I've asked you a question on AI and clients. I've asked you a question on AI and consulting. And the third leg of AI is with AI and automation advancing, how should professionals future-proof their careers?
I think come from such a technology background that I think this is all evolving.
Mm,
You recall back in the days of ERP when everyone is like jobs are going away and people are going away.
mm,
The reality is you didn't. What it allowed you to do was evolve your skills, and evolve kind of, the type of work you're doing. And I
mm.
think what people have to start paying attention to is that, businesses are getting faster,
Yeah.
businesses are operating quicker, people are
Mm,
making decisions better, and we have to, as individuals, adapt and embrace that and figure out how we use this in our day-to-day life. And by doing so, what it's going to do is free up the capacity we were using to take these, tasks and using AI or automation to help drive it so we
mm,
can actually focus on more intellectual work that, AI is not there for yet. So,
mm,
my recommendation to all of our clients and even our people is about if we start to become more efficient, we will actually grow and
mm,
we'll also improve our bottom line. But that means we can focus on new product development or
yeah,
new ideation or new growth in markets. And
mm,
that's where I think people have to start focusing on is that the first step is with anything is embracing what it is and understanding it. Second thing step is applying it. And the third natural step will occur is when you apply something, your brain will move to a point of things that you didn't do before because you created capacity.
mm. Well said. So, Bhadresh, I have time for three more questions for you.
Of course.
How does RGP help organizations navigate the human side of digital transformation?
I mean, we have capabilities here. I've always fundamentally believed when digital transformation occurred that it wasn't about just a technology or just a process. We have human factors people in our business.
Mm,
They do research insights. They understand user behaviors. They understand the experience that you or I want to have. If you look at, when you're shopping online, Amazon or Nordstrom's, any of these shops, they really have figured out how you want to buy and what suggestions you have. Employees expect the same thing. So we actually built an entire team heavily focused in all of our transformations where there's a human touch that we pair and
mm,
staff people with human factors experience. Design is important, content and copy is important.
mm,
That's one piece of this. But then we also believe change management is more critical today than it has ever been.
mm,
Because change management is not just about retooling, it's or retraining. It is about reorienting an organization and repurposing an organization. So we really have capabilities that we have built here for our clients that we help
mm,
them understand when those moments matter, when we need those experts alongside a technology implementation. Because
mm,
what technologies have done is created features and workflows,
mhm,
but they haven't really factored user adoption of those workflows because they sometimes are not user friendly. And that's where we balance these skills that we have built here at
mm,
scale to really drive our implementations and create
mm.
success.
Well said. And how do you see on-demand talent consulting and outsourced services shaping the future of professional services?
I mean, for us, the reason we've done this is because we understand that clients have different types of needs for engagement models based on their journey. I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, if you look at, we have clients that just need experts and we figure out how we place our experts into their
Mm,
implementations. We have clients that need full soup to nuts, take on the entire deliver for me. We can do that. And
mm,
we have clients, and especially in HR and finance for venture-backed startups or spin outs that want an entire team, soup to nuts, people, process, and tech, and that's what our outsourced services are. So
Mm.
part of this is more about understanding, where the client is in the journey and what type of services and capabilities they need.
Yeah.
The other part of it is on our side in saying we have these flexible models and not being a one size fits all and creating that autonomy, right, that creates engaged models. And the response has been amazing with our clients because they don't feel like we're pushy in one way of selling. We're not pushy in one way of sizing a project and delivering a project, but they love the fact that we bring the right experts at the right time for them.
Amazing. And my last question for you, Bhadresh. You've spent so many years in consulting and so many years with RGP. What excites you most about the future of RGP and the consulting industry?
I mean, I've came from traditional pyramid models, and I know the benefits and the challenges of it. And what excites me most is that as we are working with our clients, the thing they keep repeatedly saying is, we love the fact that when you put a team in place, our transformation occurs. When we do strategies for us, our implementation occurs. And we're not challenged in our employment model. We're not challenged in having to change any of these things. So operationally, we're ready for what this disruption is doing currently. That's very exciting for me because half the battle is that. The other half the battle is really working with clients and helping them understand that we are a differentiated model
Mm.
and really ready for the world today. And that's the future ahead for us. Whether we're in North America or international, clients at the end of the day want people they can trust to deliver the work. Of course, brands and relationships and all those things matter.
Mm.
But, oftentimes if we sometimes lose to a bigger company, we always know some part of that work is coming back to us because the
Right.
clients believe in our capabilities, and that's what excites me the most.
Amazing. And on that note, Bhadresh, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me about your own amazing journey. I think we covered some fascinating ground on RGP, which is seen as America's best management consulting firm. You gave me some very interesting perspectives on dare to work differently, about the way flexible work is being not only internalized, but you seem to have done it 20 years before the rest of the world discovered it. Thank you for also talking to me about so many different aspects of AI, which seem to have be all pervasive and is impacting each one of us in different ways. Thank you also for speaking to me about how RGP helps to navigate the human side, and finally, your perspective on your excitement about the company that you work for. Thank you again, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Good talking to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.